If you've ever read the original John Carter stories, you know that Mars, or Barsoom as the inhabitants call it, is a world of constant movement, red sands and legendary warriors. But by the time we get to Thuvia, Maid of Mars, the focus shifts. The legend of the warlord of Helium is still there, looming in the background, but the story belongs to his son, Carthoris. He has his father's strength and his mother's grace, but he's stepping into a much more complicated, much more psychological kind of conflict. The story begins in the royal gardens of Tarth. It's a scene of high tension and sudden violence. Prince Jeddak of Kaol is attempting to forcibly claim Princess Thuvia, and Carthoris, who has been watching from the sidelines, steps in. He doesn't just defend her, he defeats Jeddak, effectively establishing himself as Thuvia's champion. There is an immediate, heavy romantic tension here. Carthoris makes it clear that he loves her, but Thuvia is a woman of duty. She reveals she has already promised to Kulantith, the Jeddak of Kaol. It's a moment of heartbreak and political complication that sets the entire plot in motion. As Carthoris prepares to leave, things take a turn from the romantic to the conspiratorial. His automated flier is sabotaged, causing him to crash, land in a desolate, ancient city far from his intended destination. While he is lost in these ruins, a much more subtle kind of war is being waged. A spy steals a sandal to replicate a key, allowing a master infiltrator named Vas Kor to slip into Helium and embed himself in Carthoris's own household, disguised as a slave. At the same time, a false flag operation occurs. Thuvia is kidnapped by Dusarian warriors who are disguised as Heliumites. This makes it look like Carthoris has abducted her, turning the political landscape against him and making him a man wanted for a crime he didn't commit. Carthoris, believing he's been framed, tries to head to Tarth to clear his name, but he ends up lost in a labyrinth of ruins. Eventually, he tracks Thuvia to a valley, where he finds her in the middle of a skirmish between turquoise green warriors and Dusarian attackers. He rescues her, and the two find themselves entering a place that defies everything Carthoris understands about the physical world, the mysterious city of Lothar. Lothar is perhaps the most surreal setting in all of Burroughs' Martian adventures. It is a city of realists. These aren't just people who believe in things, they are people who use collective willpower to actually materialize food, soldiers, and structures. In Lothar, the boundary between thought and matter is incredibly thin. They encounter the Jeddak Tario, a ruler who uses this mental influence to manipulate reality itself. The atmosphere in Lothar is one of constant, shifting uncertainty. Tario attempts to use his hypnotic powers on Thuvia, and in the ensuing chaos, a palace collapse plunges Carthoris, Thuvia, and an official named Jarv into a subterranean abyss. Deep in these tunnels, they encounter a creature they believe is a god named Kamal. But as the darkness clears, the truth is much more grounded and much more dangerous. Kamal is actually a giant banth. Thuvia, however, shows a strength that Carthoris didn't fully realize she possessed. She uses an innate ability to command beasts to subdue the creature. But the real twist comes when they emerge from the depths. Carthoris realizes that the Thuvia he has been traveling with through the tunnels was actually a mental projection, a hallucination created by the Lotharian Jarv to manipulate him. The real Thuvia was being held elsewhere, trapped by the Banth. During this struggle, Carthoris meets Carcomac, a man who has become a permanent physical reality through the sheer power of Lotharian thought. He is a man who has essentially thought himself into existence. The story then shifts from the metaphysical to the geopolitical. Carthoris and Carcomac find themselves caught in the middle of a massive, multinational war involving Helium, Tarth, Kaol, and Dusar. Carthoris is captured by the Turquasians and imprisoned, but he uses a mix of psychological warfare and telepathic intuition to escape with Carcomac. They begin operating undercover as mercenaries, trying to navigate a world that is rapidly spiraling toward total war. Meanwhile, Thuvia has managed to escape her captors, only to find that the man behind her kidnapping was the very man she had rejected in the gardens, Prince Jeddak. His father, the tyrant Jeddak Nutus, realizes that the kidnapping has created a diplomatic disaster that could lead to war with Helium. To prevent this, he decides the simplest solution is to eliminate the problem. He orders Thuvia's execution. Jeddak offers her a choice: marry him and live, or die with her dignity intact. Thuvia, showing the iron will that defines her character, chooses death over a life of submission. Carthoris, now working undercover in the palace of Dusar, discovers the plot to kill her just in time. He infiltrates the palace, leading to a final, desperate confrontation. He duels the infiltrator Vascour, the man who has been working against him from the shadows. In the climax of the chaos, Thuvia refuses to be a passive victim of these men's political games. She seizes the keys to her own cell, locking her captors inside and reclaiming her agency. Carthoris, Thuvia, and Carcomac are forced into a desperate flight through the palace as the Dusarian guards close in, leaving the fate of the planet hanging in the balance as the war begins. When we look back at this story, it's interesting to see how it differs from the earlier John Carter novels. While the first books were often about survival and conquest, Thuvia, Maid of Mars, is much more concerned with the unreliability of perception. Almost everyone is wearing a mask, whether it's a literal disguise like Vascour or a mental one like the projection of Thuvia in the tunnels. The book asks a question that feels very modern: how much of our reality is actually solid, and how much is just a product of what we believe or what others want us to believe? The city of Lothar is the physical manifestation of this idea. The realism of the Lotharians serves as a philosophical meditation. If a group of people all believe a wall is there, it becomes a wall. If they all believe a soldier is standing in front of them, he appears. It's a fascinating, if slightly unsettling, concept that pushes the boundaries of the science fiction genre of that era. It moves the conflict from the battlefield to the mind. We also see a significant evolution in the concept of the hero. Carthoris is a formidable warrior, but he is often reacting to the world around him. He is being pulled by love, by duty, and by the deceptions of others. He is a hero trying to find his footing in a world that is much more complex than the one his father conquered. But if you look at the character of Thuvia, she is arguably the true center of the book. She is constantly being used as a pawn, by Astok, by her own political obligations, and by the various factions trying to manipulate the peace between nations. Yet, she consistently refuses to play the part assigned to her. Her decision to choose death over a forced marriage is a powerful moment of individual agency. She refuses to be a piece on a chessboard. She decides to break the board entirely. The book also explores the tension between duty and desire. Carthoris is caught between his personal passion for Thuvia and his obligations to the throne of Helium. This is a recurring theme in the Barsoom series, but here it feels more weighted because the stakes aren't just personal, they are planetary. A single decision by Carthoris could trigger a war that wipes out entire civilizations. Ultimately, Thuvia, Maid of Mars, is a story about the struggle to find truth in a world of illusions. Whether it's the physical illusions of the Lotharians, the political illusions of the Dusarian court, or the personal illusions of a man's own perceptions, the characters are constantly fighting to see through the fog. It's a journey that takes us from a simple garden confrontation into a surreal, metaphysical landscape, and finally into the heart of a massive, multinational conflict. It's a story about how individuals, through sheer force of will, can carve out their own reality even when the world is trying to write their story for them.